Hello and welcome to my chord theory series. This is the first installment, and today I'm going to talk about why do we have to learn chords and what is their function. And I'd like to thank my friend Darlan in Brazil who gave me the idea to put this series together. Thank you, Darlan. Obrigado. Now, why chords? Well, chords provide color to a song. And chords provide context. I know it sounds a little abstract, but just bear with me. Chords provide color. Chords provide context. Now, there are several elements of music, but the two I'd like to bring to your attention today are harmony and melody. Now, we all know what melody is, whether consciously or not. So let's take the example of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. This is melody. It's a single line of notes that follow in a specific succession that create a listening experience that is generally memorable and hopefully pleasant if it's a well-written melody. So if we take that and we just hear the melody, that's basically, I would like to compare it to a black and white drawing. Picture a coloring book, and you have your, I'm going to show you a picture in a minute. You have a picture of a turkey that's just black and white. So that's your melody there. This is your black and white turkey. You know, you can hum it, la 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 la, and it has a sound, has a feeling. But it's not super colorful, and it was kind of black and white, and it doesn't really have a context in terms of you don't know what the background is. You're only getting foreground. So when I add chords to it, it's going to have more of a life. It's going to have definitely become more colorful. It's going to have more context. So this is the traditional chords for it. I'll sing Twinkle Twinkle. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Okay, so that changed the experience. So chords provide that. So now, you can do a lot with chords, and I'll explain that more as we go on. But let me talk to you about this analogy. I like to think of a melody as a black and white drawing. A melody being la 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 la, for example. Okay, so here's your black and white turkey. And it's cool, it's a turkey. You know, just like you hear la 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 la. La 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 la. I say, oh, I know that song. That's ABCs or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And you look at this picture, you say, oh, I know what that is. That's a turkey. But when you hear like a full arrangement with chords of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, you definitely know what it is, and it's more entertaining. It's more exciting. It's more of a rich experience, and that's the colored turkey. Sorry, the legs aren't colored. But that's the difference. So here's a melody, just kind of like a general shape, so you can recognize it, but not so rich. And here's a melody with chords. That's the difference. That's why chords are worth learning. Just like if you could draw well, that's one thing, but can you draw and then color your picture in? That's a whole nother experience, you know? Now, so that's the function. But what what I'd like to point out now is that this is an extension of the way I view chords, and I guess a lot of other people do too. Specifically jazz piano players, they like to do what's called reharmonization. And what that means is you have your traditional way of coloring a picture or harmonizing a song, and you have your untraditional way of coloring a picture or harmonizing a song. So, you know, in terms of music, I'll play you that in a second, but in terms of coloring, so let's say this is kind of the more traditional one. I know the apple's pink, but pretend it's red. So this is like a traditional way, just like those very, predictable chords that I played to the song before. And then here's an atraditional, or is that a word? Or untraditional way of coloring. Now, for some people, this might be shocking. You say, apple's not blue, right? And the pie crust isn't orange. But they're both real. They both exist. One might be a little more traditional than this one. Although this is still a little bit, not purely traditional. It should be more red or green, I guess. But I think you get the idea. So I have a song called Tie Your Shoe. Very simple song, right? So this is the melody. Tie your shoe, why don't you? This is your black and white drawing. Before you fall, why don't you just tie your shoe? And now if I was to add traditional chords, or like the predictable chord pattern, it would sound like this. Tie your shoe, why don't you? Before you fall, why don't you just tie your shoe? But if I was to do a more untraditional chord pattern of reharmonization, like the jazz pianists would do, or color my apple blue instead of red, it would sound something like this. Tie your shoe, same exact black and white drawing. Why don't you, meaning same melody. Before you fall, why don't you just tie your shoe? Very, very different experience. So that's what I mean, that chords add color. You can color it blue, you can color it red. And chords add context. So depending, if you give it that, make it a blue apple instead of a red apple, it's a little bit more surreal. You know, more cartoon world. And if you make it red, you might think it's more like real life. So it depends on, the chords that you choose. You'll get the same results. Chords are like colors. So now, there's also different takes on traditional chords. Just like there's different takes on traditional colors, right? So here is two versions of the same picture with fairly traditional colors. So this is one. Got a nice orange pumpkin, yellow corn, some red corn, and green leaves, and that exists, that's real. This looks like a traditional way to color in a pumpkin, I think. And then here's another one. Orange pumpkin, yellow and green corn. Now that's also something you would see in real life. But if you look at them if you look at them together, you see the difference, right? They're both traditional. You can't argue that, but they look significantly different. So what that represents musically is that people, depending on the guitarist, will put a different take on the chords. One guy might do it one way, another guy might do it another way. So let's take the example of Mary Had a Little Lamb. Mary had a little lamb, little lamb. Okay, I'll do one traditional way, and then I'll do slightly different traditional way, but that has a different feeling. So to show that even within traditional and untraditional, you could have quite a bit of variety. So, Mary had a little lamb, little could have another traditional version, which might sound something like this. Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. Mary had a little lamb, fleece was white as snow. It's not the same exact thing at all, but it's similar, and it doesn't sound like untraditional. It doesn't sound like way out there, right? So that's what I mean. So there's a huge possibility or a huge space for variation. What's the word I'm looking for? Huge scale by which we can vary our chords, whether they be on the traditional side or the untraditional side. Just like with crayons and coloring, you know, you can really make a lot of different choices to create a different experience contextually and color-wise. So I hope that was helpful in on your understanding of chords. So please stay tuned for the next video where I'm actually going to explore what are triads. Okay, see you soon.